Hello everyone, I'm Abdullah Ali. I'm a creative lead at Amazon. Today I'm presenting work I did as I was finishing up my PhD at the University of Washington in collaboration with Meredith Ringgold Morris and my advisor Jake Wabrock. Our paper is titled I Am Iron Man, Priming Improves the Learnability and Memorability of User-Elicited Gestures.
What if
we use movies
to design better,
much better
technology?
Can we use movies to design better technologies? This work builds on the literature of elicitation studies. In elicitation studies, the phenomenon of legacy bias, as defined by Morris et al., is the proposal of legacy interactions that might not be the most suitable during the course of an elicitation study. In this paper, we investigate the effects of priming in elicitation studies to reduce legacy bias. And we investigated how to create gestures for a mixed reality environment system that are guessable, learnable, and memorable. And finally, we also wanted to find a way to conduct learnability and memorability studies in a distributed manner, building on my own work on distributed interaction design and also given the restrictions of social distancing that made lab studies almost impossible. There has always been a bidirectional relationship between sci-fi and HCI. Schmitz et al. Mentions many examples of this relationship, citing an anecdote of how director Steven Spielberg worked with HCI researchers from MIT on the design of interfaces shown in the movie Minority Report. On the flip side, Mubin et al. Lists many examples of how movies influence the design of technologies like mobile phones inspired by the communicators from Star Trek. In this paper, we use priming in two ways. First, drawing on the sci-fi HCI relationship, we used a montage of sci-fi clips as a primer for participants to watch before starting an elicitation study. And two, we borrowed Sassenberg and Moskowitz's priming technique from psychology literature of using creative mindset to reduce stereotyping. We did that by asking participants to provide 3 examples of times when they were creative before starting an elicitation study. To carry out our investigation, we followed the 6-step distributed interaction design DXD model, which we recently published in the Interactions magazine. For our system, we chose a video player in augmented reality that had these 10 functions: play, pause, fast forward, and so on. And we had 3 augmented reality specific functions, which were pin view to a surface and bring view into a field of vision. We ran a distributed between subject elicitation study by using our online crowd-elicit system with 167 participants. The experiment had priming as a factor with 3 levels: a control level with no priming, a sci-fi priming level, and a creative mindset level. We created 3 sets of gestures based on the proposals we collected from our 167 participants in the elicitation study. Then, in this paper, we introduced a method of evaluating the learnability and memorability of interactions gathered in an elicitation study in a distributed manner. To do so, we recruited 18 participants and contacted them via video chat. We randomly assigned them to view videos of one of the 3 gesture sets. After viewing each one of the 10 gestures once, participants were asked to perform the gestures randomly by recording them using crowd-elicit. We viewed the gestures and noted their correctness, and then asked the participants to relearn the gestures and perform them again until they learned all 10 gestures. In the end, for initial learnability, the number of gestures performed correctly after a single viewing, we saw no significant differences across the 3 groups. For the overall learnability, which is the total number of video views required to learn all 10 gestures from a given gesture group, sci-fi outperformed the other 2 groups. To run our memorability study, we invited the same 18 participants after 1 week of no practice and asked them to perform these gestures. Here, we saw that both priming groups outperformed the control. These results lead us to recommend incorporating priming in elicitation studies, especially ones similar to the study we are presenting today. A few key takeaways from this work. We conducted the largest investigation to our knowledge into the effects of priming on user-elicited gestures. In our investigation, we found priming with sci-fi produced more memorable and learnable gestures, and we contributed a methodology of running distributed learnability and memorability studies. I would like to thank my collaborators and Microsoft Research for their support of this project, and thank you all for listening.